Hello, welcome to the Nourish and Heal MS program. I created this program so that I can help others heal just like I did when I was diagnosed with MS in 2015. I actually healed the same year when I figured out what I needed to do, what I needed to eat, and how I needed to heal my body. It's not just diet, but there's other things involved. And you're either watching this because you have MS, or you might have a friend or a loved one who has MS and you like to help them. So after watching this, you might discover if I'm a magical fit to help you or a loved one. And let me tell you a little bit more. Let me introduce myself. My name is Adrienne Charlie, and I have a 12-week program to help people heal. I actually help people reverse their symptoms, and yes, it's possible. Everybody has this power. And I'm going to tell you my story. I'm going to share other success stories. And yes, food and lifestyle can definitely heal. And I also want to tell you I did not take any drugs on my wellness journey. I'm going to share how this program works and a little bit more about it. I'll tell you some details. You'll be filling out a symptoms questionnaire, getting a hair test done, and so on. So I'll be going over a little bit more. Why am I doing this? I don't want anybody else to feel hopeless anymore. I want people to know that they can heal from this disease. Anybody can. And it's my goal to show others that we can all do this. It's a huge passion of mine. And I just remember that dark day when I was diagnosed, and if you were diagnosed too, you remember that day. And it's a day I will never forget. I just pictured myself in a wheelchair, and it was a lot to process. But anyway, I want you to know that you have the power to heal. I can get you there. So I'm going to tell you my story. This is how MS started for me. I was about 28 years old when I had my first attack. And I just moved from California to Colorado. I was working at a pretty stressful retail job as a manager. And this is about 4 to 5 months in. And I had a roommate. Anyway, one day I woke up and I was numb from my waist down to my feet. And my hands were numb. And I remember when I got up and walked, I had pins and needles in my feet. And as you know, when your foot falls asleep, it's pins and needles, right? It's very uncomfortable. So what I did is I called my mother. My mom was a previous nurse, and I called her up. She still lived in California at the time. And I said, Mom, this is what I'm feeling. What do I do? And she said, well, honey, go to the neurologist. Find a neurologist and see him, and then call me back. So I saw this neurologist, and when I went to his office, he gave me numerous amounts of physical tests in the office. So I had to touch my finger to my nose. I had to walk in a straight line. He had me do a couple of these tests, and then he sat me down, and I said, well, what do you think is going on with me? And he said, if I can bet on it, you have multiple sclerosis. And I was devastated. I was shocked. I was confused. I didn't know what was going on, because I thought, I eat pretty well. I'm pretty healthy. I'm young. Why is this happening to me? So as you know, MS symptoms can come and go. And I had 17 years in between my attacks. And so after that neurologist told me that I might have MS, that he could bet on it, right? I'll never forget those words. So I called my mom back and I told her what he said, and she said, well, honey, I don't want you to get diagnosed yet. Don't get an MRI yet. She didn't want me to be blackballed with my insurance company. And if you guys are as old as me, I was born in 1970, insurance companies back then had a policy that if you were diagnosed with a chronic disease, your insurance rates would go up, and then you also could not change insurance companies ever. That's kind of how it was back then. And so that's why my mother did not want me to get diagnosed, because she didn't want my rates to go through the roof and wanted me to have a chance to change insurance companies. So anyway, magically, my symptoms disappeared, because you know what? I didn't know what I did back then, but I know now. But this was my thought. I thought, you know, I'm going to go back to work. I'm going to be as happy and positive as possible. And I'm just going to hope and pray that this is going to go away. And that's what I did. And about 30 days later, it did dissipate. Those symptoms did go away little by little. And so life was great after that. I had a great real estate career. I got married in 2005. And it wasn't until 17 years later that I woke up again. This time I wasn't numb. This was in 2015. But I woke up and I had a blind spot in my left eye. And I remember thinking, you know, this is really strange. I don't know what's going on here, but I remember talking to my husband about it. And he said, well, go to the eye doctor and see what they can do and see if you can figure it out. So I did that. And what happened next was he did, you know, those tests that you get when you go to see your eye doctor. And we definitely did discover that I had that blind spot in my left eye. And he gave me some information. And I said, well, what do you think it could be? And he said, well, it could be one of three things. It could be A, B, or C. Now, I don't remember what A and B were, but I do remember what he said for C. He said, you could have MS. And I thought, oh my gosh, here we go again. This was, you know, something that happened to me over 15 years ago, and here it's popping up again. And so he said, well, I want you to go to another eye doctor to be sure that, you know, this is something that could be a consideration. Then that doctor told me to see my general physician. I did that, referred me to a neurologist again. So here I am again. Now, this new neurologist told me that we should get blood work and that I should get an MRI done. So I did that. And I came back for the results. And here's what they showed. I was 45 years old, and this is what showed up on my brain. So on that day, on that very dark day, I was diagnosed. And I remember her trying to explain the MRI results to me. And I just remember that my tunnel vision started narrowing, and I just, it was just this black cloud that came over me, and so confused. And I don't want anyone else to feel this way again. I want everyone to know that MS can be reversed. And I remember when she told me this, that my vision was me in a wheelchair, because that's what society has kind of ingrained into us, right? We don't learn that people can heal from diseases like this. And so I want to tell you what happened after that. So after my diagnosis, this neurologist gave me 4 days of steroid infusions. So I did it for 4 days in a row. And after this, I got this migraine headache like nothing else. And I don't get headaches. I got this migraine headache that lasted for 30 days. And it was miserable. And, you know, she told me the reason she gave me this steroid treatment is to hopefully reduce the swelling of the inflammation behind my left eye. Well, you know, that didn't work. And then afterwards, I got numbness in my legs. So a whole slew of symptoms happened after I got that infusion. And then I got stiff knees, kind of a weird symptom, I know. And then heat sensitivity, right? This was in the summer. And whenever I went outside, of course, it always felt hotter than the temperature than it really was. And I also had Hermite sign. And if you don't know what that is, it's the feeling that you get when you tilt your head forward you get this electric shock throughout your body, and I had that too. I had brain fog. I couldn't think. This is what I look like in bed. I had this washcloth over my head, and I was miserable. It was awful. And then I had brain fog. I couldn't think. I couldn't work. I couldn't do anything for about a month. I just wanted to sleep all day long. I had severe fatigue. And during this time, I didn't realize that it was the steroid that really started these MS symptoms for me. And I didn't realize the steroid kind of kick-started my MS symptoms. But what I thought was, wow, maybe I have a sinus infection. And so I went to other doctors during this whole 30-day ordeal to see if I can maybe take antibiotics to clear up this migraine headache or maybe a sinus infection or whatever it was. And you know what? That didn't help at all. I remember the first drug didn't do a darn thing. And I remember the second antibiotic actually gave me a rash over my midsection. So that was terrible. Anyway, I don't wish this on my worst enemy. It was terrible. So here I am thinking I'm gonna look like this, right, in a wheelchair, and thinking, oh my God, this is not part of my life plan. You know, I am happily married. I've got children, and this is not how I want to live the rest of my life. There's got to be something else. This can't be happening to me. But anyway, do you see these symptoms on the left side? This is everything that I experienced. And these symptoms on the right, and I know these are other symptoms that other people experience. And I know there's some I'm leaving out, but I want to tell you that I healed all of these. And it's possible for you to heal everything too. You just have to know you can. You have to believe you can. And we're going to go over this. So when I put a new diet into place and I changed a few lifestyle habits, it was a miracle. I healed my body. You know, all of my symptoms went away and all of my symptoms disappeared. So even the blind spot on the left side of my left eye healed after 4 to 5 months. Like, I didn't know I had this ability, you know, and everybody does. And I want to shout it out to the world that everybody can do this. So I had this idea. After I healed my body, I thought, you know, I want to write a cookbook because I want everyone to know the power of food and how food is so important in healing. You know, we're not taught this in school. We're not taught that food is medicine. We're not taught that if you changed your diet, radical things can happen. Either radical things going in the positive direction or radical things in the negative direction. And I want people to know what kinds of foods they need to eat if they want to heal and they want to get better. Now, after that cookbook, I had another idea. I thought, you know, I want to write a paperback book because I want to share that this is really possible to reverse MS. And I thought, you know, if I interviewed about 10 other people, they can share their stories and I can get this book out and other people can read about how they healed themselves too. I want to be part of that tsunami message that this really is possible. So let me share a couple of these stories with you. So one of the gals that I interviewed, her name is Andrea from the UK, and her journey started with pins and needles in her feet, just like mine did. And she said the numbness traveled up to her torso. That's exactly what I had in the beginning. She said then she had balance and vision problems. She went to the hospital. Now at that time, they gave her some drugs. I remember she told me, and she said, you know, after the doctors had sent her home, they thought stress was the main issue and they sent her back home. But then later she had trouble walking and communicating. Then she found herself back in the hospital deteriorating at a rapid rate and became paralyzed from the waist down. And she told me she became totally blind. She spent 4 to 5 months in the hospital and had to be hoisted out of bed so that she could be bathed. And she said nurses had to bathe her and brush her teeth. She said it was awful. She couldn't do anything. Well, eventually she was released, and she was taking drugs with the help of physiotherapy. She had relapses for the next 20 years, and finally she ended up taking a health coaching course, and this program taught her about the mind-body connection. And now she's helping others. I love her story. She is such a great soul. Now, Melissa from Montana, I remember she told me that she was fatigued and had issues when she was a child, but she was tired of college too, and she had some cognitive issues that started setting in. She told me one morning in college, she had to get up early one morning, and she said her legs wouldn't move, and so all she could do was roll out of bed. But she couldn't get up. She said she had to call a friend to come pick her up off the ground. Oh gosh, anyway, she said she was always fatigued. And later on, when she got married and started a life, she said she would work, she'd come home and take a nap, and then she would make dinner for her husband, and then she would go back to bed. She said she got migraine headaches often and had vision issues. Here we go again with the eyesight, right? She said her left eye was totally blind at one point. Remember talking to her, she said this happened twice. She said she went blind twice and healed herself twice. She also had mobility issues on her left side, and she said she would hang onto furniture. I remember she told me she was too proud to get a walking cane or a wheelchair. She just didn't want anything to do with that. But at 31 years old, she had a stroke-like incident and became paralyzed and ended up on the kitchen floor with her young children watching. She said she remembers she couldn't move or talk. She had to wait until her husband came back to come pick her up off the kitchen floor and put her in bed. Now, she was told by doctors later on that she would be bedbound by the age of 45, and she'd be lucky to be living at the age of 50. Later, she learned about diet. Now, she had symptoms like bloating, constipation, urinary issues, and seizures, but they all had stopped because she changed her diet and a few lifestyle things. And now she's a functional medical practitioner. I think that's so great. Now, Allison is from Australia, and I had a chance to talk to her. She was diagnosed with MS at 23. She said her journey started when she tripped going upstairs, and she felt numbness on her right side of her body and in her feet. She was referred to a neurologist. She had an MRI, and that's when she had the diagnosis. For the next 15 years, she was prescribed drugs, many drugs, over 45 infusions. She tried to change her diet a couple of times, but then ended up going back on the diet that she had before because she didn't feel like eating really great food was getting her better. She didn't make the diet healing connection until one day she decided to do it again. She thought, here I am on the sofa watching TV. This was her thought. Is this how the rest of my life is going to be? And so she finally decided to stick to this new diet because she remembers that she felt a little bit better, but she didn't put the diet and food connection together. So she finally stuck to this new diet, and her brain fog and energy finally came back. Eventually, she became symptom-free. Now, being a PhD herself, she was shocked that she didn't see the food and health connection earlier, and now she is also a health coach helping others. Then I talked to Talia from Florida. Her MS started at age 29 when she noticed a headache and eye issues and realized she lost vision in her left eye. She had more flare-ups and numbness and tingling in her body throughout her journey. I remember she told me that she was so tired and had so much fatigue that one day she was driving and she had to pull the car over so that she could rest and take a nap. She was worried she was going to cause an accident from falling asleep at the wheel. She also had weakness in her left hand and brain fog. She experienced her left ankle and knee not responding well, and she discovered that she can barely walk. She was told from doctors that her life will never be the same again. The medical team told her to prepare herself for a wheelchair. Relapses would come and go with drug treatments. She wasn't getting better until one day she decided to take charge of her life and eat the food that would give her body energy. She also learned that we can't change while living in a survival and low vibrational state. She now coaches others on how to heal. I love her story too. We are in a pandemic of disease. So I got this information from the CDC. 6 in 10 of us have a chronic disease, and 4 in 10 of us have 2 or more. That is just unbelievable to me. Now, these chronic diseases are cancer, chronic lung disease, stroke, Alzheimer's, diabetes, and of course, there's over 100 autoimmune diseases. MS, you know about, Hashimoto's, rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, IBD, Crohn's, celiac, the list goes on. And you know what? It is not our fault. Here's part of the reason why we're sick. The food industry has lied to us about our health. So if you remember this pyramid, it came out in 1992. By the way, I got this information from Mark Hyman. I remember this pyramid. And Mark Hyman, in his book called Food, he talks about how the dairy and grain industry lobbied hard to get their products on this pyramid. I'm here to tell you that we can thrive without dairy and without any grain. Now, the food guidelines don't even tell us today about the oils or added chemicals in packaged foods that are toxic. So oils in the grocery stores or restaurants, a lot of oils that our foods are being cooked in are toxic. And we don't learn this in school. I had to learn this all on my own. Do you remember these ads? The milk ads, milk does a body good. Remember the milk mustache ads? So you don't see these ads anymore, do you? And the reason you don't is because the Federal Trade Commission stopped these ads because they're not true. Milk does not do a body good. And Mark Hyman says most milk does more harm to the body than good. Now here's Mark Hyman. You might have seen him. Maybe you've read some of his books. He's all over YouTube. He's really great. He's very knowledgeable, and he's one of those smart guys I follow. These are 2 quotes I just want to share with you. I love these. And who knew Thomas A. Edison invented more than the light bulb? He says, "The doctors of the future will no longer treat the human with drugs, but will rather cure and prevent disease with nutrition." So smart. And then Hippocrates, he is an ancient philosopher and doctor before Christ. And he says, "Let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food." He's got tons of other quotes, by the way, but this is one of my favorites. Why do we get MS? There's a lot of reasons. So here are the reasons. Leaky gut, you might have heard what that is. Food toxins like gluten, dairy, and sugar. Not getting enough nutrition. So for instance, if you eat a low-fat diet and you're not getting enough good fats, that's an issue. Other toxins like mold, heavy metals, EMFs, or even toxic relationships even. Yes, people can be toxic. Infections, you've probably heard of the Epstein-Barr virus. Parasites, candida. Also, too much stress, trauma, or too many negative emotions. For instance, if you are angry a lot, if you worry a lot, if you are experiencing a lot of grief, maybe you had a loved one that passed away. If you have negative emotions for a long period of time, they can also be linked to disease. And also, we all know low physical activity. You don't want to have a sedentary lifestyle. You want to move your body as much as you can. So with my program, there are 3 requirements I want for you. So number 1, you have to believe you can heal. You absolutely can heal. Everybody can, but you have to believe it. You have to want to heal, believe it or not. Not everybody wants to. Now number 3, you've got to put in the work. Now I can get you there, and I'm going to show you the way, and I'm going to give you lots of ideas, lots of recipes, but I also want you to get the support at home. So let me give you an example of that. So I was helping a gal with MS just recently, and she knew what she had to eat, but her husband was doing all the driving and all the shopping and getting all the food that she needs. But he wasn't bringing home the right foods for her. So she wasn't able to heal in a way that she wanted to. So it's really important that you do have the support at home. Now, the number 1 question I get is, how long will it take to heal? And here's the answer. It's different for everybody. So if you follow my program and you do everything that I ask you to do, and you have support at home, you will heal. It might take you longer. Now, if you're in a wheelchair, for example, yes, you can heal your body out of a wheelchair. It could take you a little bit longer. For example, if you know the story of Dr. Walls, when she changed her diet, she was able to get up out of bed and use a walker after 3 months. 3 months later, she was able to walk without a cane. Now, with me, I had fatigue, I had numbness, I had brain fog. Most of these symptoms cleared up for me after 6 to 8 weeks. But remember, my blind spot in my eye took about 5 months. Now, it also matters how closely you stick to the diet, right? You want to be pretty strict with yourself. But I also want to tell you that I'm going to be giving you delicious food, and you're never going to go hungry. I remember when I started changing my diet, I did it the wrong way. And I started eating food in the beginning that didn't taste very good. And that's why I wrote that cookbook, because I wanted to create foods, and it took me a while to figure out what tastes good to me and what I enjoyed eating. And that's why I wanted to share that with people, to show you that healthy food can be really delicious. Okay, what to expect with this 12-week program. You will see subtle and slow changes that will help you heal slowly but surely. I will help you create new diet changes along the way, education on nutrition and other lifestyle changes weekly, and you're going to start noticing some symptoms starting to fade. It's probably going to be around week 4, 6, 8. It'll take a month or 2, but you will start feeling better and empowered. I just don't want you to give up. Some people they want change to happen overnight, and unfortunately it just doesn't work that way. You just have to know it's going to happen, and you have to be gentle with yourself, right? And even if you don't see any changes or feel anything after 6 weeks, I want you to continue. This program is 3 months long, so you've got a long time to see some changes. The goal after 12 weeks is I would love to have half your symptoms gone or dissipated. Now, if you followed the protocols, it should happen. If you have a workout plan, great, keep doing it. If not, I will help you start small. Even if you're in a wheelchair, you have the ability to start small, even if it's just arm weights or lifting your legs little by little. I will help you get there. Are you ready to make a change? Wouldn't it be great to have energy again and to lose the fatigue? Can you imagine most of your symptoms disappearing? If you are in a wheelchair, for example, or using a cane, wouldn't it be great to walk normal again? If you have numbness, eye issues, brain fog like I had, wouldn't it be nice if these were gone? What other symptoms do you wish would disappear? It's totally possible. This is the basic syllabus, but I've got something that I'm going to be talking about and working with you on every week. It's a 12-week program. These are major topics we're going to be going over. Your belief system, nutrition, what your body needs, moving your body, trauma, stress. I'm going to help you mitigate that. And we're going to talk about your relationships, your self-care. What do you do to take care of yourself? What are your spiritual beliefs? Okay, in my program, there is a symptoms questionnaire that I have. And so how it works is you're going to give a score to each symptom that you have. For instance, if you look at if you get headaches often, and if they are severe, you're going to score a 4. If you never get headaches, you're going to score it a 0. And then after you go through the whole thing, you're going to give yourself a total score. Now, if you want, if you look on the right side here, waist size and weight, if you want to write that in, that's fine. It's not required. Now, you're going to find that you're going to lose weight. I remember when I started this program, I lost about 15 pounds. And I didn't think that was possible. I tried for so long and I couldn't lose weight, but I lost weight. And you know what? It's a joy. I love my body now. And I'm going to help you find joy in your diet. So then after you've done the 12-week program, I'm going to have you fill this out again. And this is how we're going to measure the results. I want to see if your score drops. If you get a 70, for example, with your first score, I would love, love, love to see that drop at least 25%. That's the goal. Now, also on my program, I want you to do a hair test. I want you to find out what vitamins and minerals you might be missing. So if you are missing some, I will help you determine if you want to get some supplements for missing vitamins or minerals, or if you can just eat the foods that have what you're missing. Now this test, for example, will tell you if you're within range of your vitamin and mineral deficiencies. So I took this test back in, I think May or June, and I found out that I was within range of my vitamins and minerals. And you know why? Because I took a test 2 months earlier and found out I was deficient in what you just saw in the previous slide. Here we go. And I found out I was deficient in some of these, and so I started eating more of those foods, and I think I bought one supplement to help me. And it really did get me on my way. Now you're also going to find out what you might be sensitive to. And guess what? Here's something I didn't know. Look at the fruit. I am sensitive to most apples. I had no idea. And I don't feel anything different, right? So when I eat an apple, for example, it doesn't make me feel bad. But apparently, my digestive system doesn't like it. And I just don't do well with them. So I decided, okay, well, it's going to be a rare treat, or I'm going to, eat very little of apples as possible. Now look at my cheese and dairy. I am very sensitive to those. So anything in red that you see are foods that I really should not be eating. Eggs are fine, but dairy, not a good idea for me. Even dairy from goats or sheep are not so good for me. So I gotta stay away from that. Now, this is interesting, and I know these test results are true because, do you see the red dot next to wasp? I know that I'm highly allergic to them because last summer I got this huge blister on the back of my calf. I got a sting on the back of my calf. So I got this blister the size of, I'm going to say, a racquetball. It was bigger than a golf ball, not quite as big as a tennis ball, but it was huge. And my ankle swelled up. It was awful, and it was like that for about 2 weeks. Anyway, I need to stay away from wasps. All right, what to expect. So the course sessions will be emailed to you weekly. You'll be learning about nutrition and what we need. what we need to thrive, and what we need to do to mitigate the bad stuff, and of course, self-care practices, etc. This gives you some examples. And then number 2, we're going to have one-on-one coaching once per week. It's going to be about 45 minutes. And this will be either on a Tuesday or a Thursday. I can do morning, evening, whatever works for you. And we'll pick a day and time that works for both of us. And number 3, almost every week, there will be a new lifestyle change so that you can start implementing that into your habits. So after these 12 weeks, I want these changes to be new habits for you. And once they become new habits, you're going to be on your way to health. You are taking a leap of faith. You've got this. I love this picture. This is a mountain goat. Do you see how he's leaping from a cliff to this little spot, this little ledge on the other side? I want you to only look forward. You see how he's not looking back? He's only looking forward. He knows he's going to land there. And I want you to know this is going to work for you. So maybe we will work together. I would love to work with you. And here's my goal. I would love to help you reverse at least half your symptoms, for you to be excited about the journey as well. And I want you to be happy from your results. I want you to be so happy that you're going to want to give me a testimonial that will either be in video form, or you'll send me this great email about how you are amazed and so happy that you've reversed half or more of your symptoms. That would make me so happy, and it'll make you happy too. So if you want to reach out, go to my website and let's chat to see if we're a magical fit for each other. I've got my phone number on my website too, so give me a call and we will figure this out together. Thanks for watching, and I hope to talk to you soon.